Welcome or welcome back, beautiful souls, to the channel. I'm Shika, your conscious mentor, and today I will be doing a video on a highly requested question. Chica, how do I know if I am receiving downloads from my higher self, from spirit, from universe? How do I know the difference between my own thoughts and the thoughts that I need to know that are messages for me, whether it's for my shadow work, big decisions, angels, or anything that we need to know that is outside of our own being. So I am so excited for this video and to share with you guys all of the ways that you can actually receive downloads. Before we get into the video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, like and subscribe, as well as put notification bells. I do 3 or more videos every single week for you amazing, beautiful souls. We also do moon circles here and meditations, which I really put the intention out there to help you deepen your shadow work and to understand more, to practice your downloads and how to receive those messages. And today's subscriber of the day is Amanda. Thank you so much for being part of this family. I'm so grateful for you. Let's get into the video. So how do you know if you're receiving downloads from your guides, your higher self, your guardians? This is something that took me a long time to understand, and it was almost like I was getting these thoughts. I don't know where I was getting all these synchronizations, these ideas, and I was wondering where they're coming from. So I wrote down the few ways that you can actually find out if those are your thoughts or if this is actually a download coming through. So the first way that you can know if you are getting a higher self, message, a message or a download is sensations in your body. And this was actually one of the first things that I noticed when I started to connect with my spiritual journey and also my higher conscious self was, getting sensations every time I got a download. So maybe you're sitting at your desk or maybe you're just watching a movie and all of a sudden you get goosebumps, or the temperature in the space starts to change and all of a sudden a thought comes through. This is a great sign that you're actually receiving a download from your guides, your higher self, the universe. And usually, I know your next question is probably going to be, Shika, how do I know if I'm receiving a message from my higher self compared to my guardians, my angels, guides, or even just my shadow self? And I always like to ask the energy questions. Remember, energy is like a person. It has a relationship. The more that we're able to build that relationship, the better it is for us to understand what we're meant to know and where this information is coming from. So say I'm sitting there and I feel the sensation on my body and I'm receiving a download. I will actually ask and say, is this my higher self? Is this my shadow self? I can also tap into my intuition, and as I start to practice these questions, I can also notice it is my higher self, it is my shadow self, just based on the energy and the nature and the feeling of this energy. So this is one of the first ways that you can know if you are receiving a download. Have you ever thought of something and then all of a sudden you forget? This happens to me so often. Another reason and way that you can know that you're receiving a download from your higher self or just guides, guardians, is that you have a huge thought, a detailed thought that just comes out of nowhere in your mind, and this feeling, and all of a sudden you try to bring your journal to it and you forget, you blank out. This happens a lot when I'm doing healing sessions, or if someone's asking me a question and I need to tap into spirit, into universe, or my abilities. I always find myself saying this long, amazing description of what is being channeled through me, and then they ask, Shika, can you repeat that again? And I'm like, I don't even know what I just said. So if you ever got a thought and you forget it, and it is a very detailed feeling, emotion, it's just this energy that comes, it's euphoric, this is probably a sign that you are getting a download. And I got this a lot when I was going through my spiritual awakening. I would get all these huge downloads of information, forget it, and sometimes when I'm done that, lesson, that soul lesson, I'll find out later on, oh yeah, this feels familiar. This is kind of like deja vu. Most likely you got this download earlier on in your past self, your past soul, at a different time, and then now you're receiving it in a deeper sense. So it's actually very common to get downloads and receive thoughts from our higher self, our shadow self, our guardians, or guides, and then completely forget after. And if you do have this, try not to be frustrated and get mad at yourself and be like, oh man, I actually forgot this. Try to just tune into this and just trust and just know that the universe will cycle that information back to you when you're meant to know. The next way that you can find out if you are receiving a download is actually by hearing voices. If you are clairaudient, let me know down below if you tend to hear things, hear sounds, hear voices. you are most likely your gift is clairaudient. And this was actually something that when I started tapping into space, into spirit, I remember hearing things and always being like, did you hear that? Like, did you hear that noise? Did you see that? Did you hear someone talk about this? And then either my partner or my family or my friends would be like, Shika, you're going crazy. There was nothing there. And it would be so deep. Like, I know that there is a message. This is probably another way that your guides are speaking to you, your higher conscious self. Remember that receiving downloads, most likely, they will tap into a way that kind of correlates and synchronizes with your gifts. So this was another thing too. When we start to receive downloads, it's almost like we're also enhancing our gifts because the guides, the universe, our higher self is communicating in a way that they know that they can get to us. Now, these things can change. Your receiving and downloads can change. Before, it was a lot of knowing and seeing for me when I started my spiritual journey, and then I started hearing, and then I started seeing. So I really guide you. One of my biggest tips when you're receiving downloads, don't put a definition on it. If you are getting any of these download, ideas or just like these symptoms, I don't want to say symptoms, but signs that you're receiving downloads, that's a better name, signs that you're receiving downloads, please do not just categorize it that I am clairaudient and that is my gift. Allow yourself to adapt because all of us have gifts. All of us are able to tap into psychic. All of us are able to tap into knowing. All of us are able to hear things. It's just that some of us have more gifts than others. And some of us are meant to use certain gifts more than others. So just allow yourself, especially when you're starting this venture or even if you're tapping into this deeper, to completely not even define it. Don't just be like, I'm clairaudient and that's it. Just allow yourself to receive it in the way that it's supposed to and be like, wow, okay, my higher conscious self likes to communicate with me this way because this is the way that I'm able to learn. This is the way that they know they can get to me. So hearing voices and information of voices from your angels, for example, quite common. Your guides, quite common. Your higher self, quite common. Your shadow self, completely common. So I get this a lot, and usually sometimes I'll get this early hours of the morning, like it'll be 3 a.m. or like 4 a.m. and I keep waking up at this hour, and then all of a sudden I'll hear something and I'll be like, oh, this is why I woke up this time, because universe, spirit is trying to tell me something, trying to receive a download, which is another thing. If you are waking up between 12 and 5 a.m. a lot of the times, notice what time you wake up. And one of the biggest tips that I give people is if you are receiving an awakening call from the universe, there is information that you need to know, or you're probably going through a spiritual awakening. So receiving downloads in these times where the dimension, the walls between various dimensions and the other worlds are so much thinner, this is a great time to sit with yourself, to meditate, to receive those messages, not to scroll on social media. I know it's so tempting, but to allow yourself to just be, maybe give gratitude in this time, maybe give meditation. You will be surprised the amount of downloads that you can get around this very, very magical time and hours. The next one is, it seems like time stops and it doesn't exist. I have times where I'm completely zoned out and I'm getting downloads and downloads and downloads, or I'm seeing something. Like I am seeing, spirit. I am seeing, an ancestor. I'm seeing something that comes through in daytime, just in my about doing my things. And if you are like me and you see things sometimes, let me know down below, because I know a lot of people receive this. So another way that you know that you're receiving a download is you can actually see dimensions, see things in your realm and receive those messages, and they work with elements. So sometimes I will be smudging and all of a sudden my smoke will go into a, kind of a sign of a human, actual person's body, or maybe it will actually go into this energy of a flower. Yes, I see those things. That's the way some spirits connect with me. Some spirits connect with me, or I get those receiving downloads and messages. So this is a great thing. It's like when you are having those occurrences or seeing those things or noticing or hearing or feeling or knowing, whatever way that you are receiving your downloads, it's almost like time stops. You are completely in the being, you're forgetting what you're doing right now, you're forgetting about all the worries of the days, and you're just fully on this sensation, this euphoric thought, this idea, this creative mind, this realization of like why I was doing all of this shadow work. It's brought me to this point. That is completely normal. So that's another way that you know that you are receiving a download from your higher self, your shadow self, your guides. and you are getting a message in this time, in this real time moment, in this conscious being state. The next one is after you've received the download. Another great way of knowing if you are receiving a download is you notice that you become really emotional after this thought. So an example, going back to, you have a thought and you forget it, but then all of a sudden there's these emotions that come through. You get sad, you start crying for no reason, you start getting excited, you start getting happy, you're angry, whatever the emotion is, it seems like these emotions just come out of nowhere the same way that this thought came in. So a lot of the times when we get a message from our higher self, maybe it's something to teach us something or to help us with a decision, it tends to come through like right at a time that is meant for us. And our conscious or our shadow being or whatever state that we are in that moment that we're holding into, whether it's our ego self or shadow self, whatever spark that we're supposed to balance in that time that might be imbalanced, the reaction of that creates a sense of emotion. You know, that thought creates a reaction, whether it is touching on a trauma, whether it is touching on, you know, someone that passed away, someone that you broke up with, someone that you are manifesting, whatever it is, there's just this huge emotion that just rises up right after the thought. And you're like, where did this come from? You are receiving a download. I remember when I received a download once, I just started to cry of happiness because I was like, wow, there is these other dimensions. There are these other support fields that I didn't even know about. And all this time of me speaking to the stars, speaking to the moons, and like speaking to this other space that I thought everyone was thinking was crazy. No, it's actually a thing and I'm not crazy. And it just brought me this joy of laughter and love and happiness in my inner child, because I was just so happy. I saw it, I felt it, I knew that energy, and that energy was so familiar to me, and it just told me, Shika, you are here, you are exactly where you need to be, and your inner child is smiling. And I saw her smiling at me in the moment, and I just started to cry of happiness because I knew I was not alone throughout this venture. I knew that she was smiling, I knew she was free. So you see how crazy these emotions can come through when we receive downloads. Emotions are just as impactful as scent, right? Which is another thing too. You know, we know that spirit's coming near us, or we have certain dimensions if you smell certain scents, right? So when all of those senses come in, of knowing, of feeling, of seeing, of hearing, or whatever the way that your guides or your higher conscious self is communicating with you throughout this download, it creates this sense of like connection. And you know, it could be enlightenment, it could be a realization, it could be anything, but this is actually a very common thing that people tend to have when they are receiving a download. You just know. Like, you just know that you have to break up with that person. You just know that you have to leave your job and put in your resignation. You just know that you have to move halfway across the world because that is what makes you happy. You just know that you just saw or felt your great grandmother who has been guiding you through your whole shadow work. It is a knowing feeling. You know, this is huge. And what is the difference between knowing and having a thought? A lot of people are going to ask me this question, but when we're having thoughts of our days and like what we have to do and everything, it is a masculine energy. It is a structural energy. When we go into downloads, I find it brings in this emotion. It brings in this state of like alignment. And more often than not, it connects us to our emotional being that is beyond the human body, that is beyond who we are right now. It can connect us to a past life experience through that download. It can connect us to a soul experience through that download. It can connect us to our other cosmos, other dimensions. It can connect us to so much more that it's almost like it feels so familiar, yet it's something new. It could be new information that you've never even knew about this download, right? And it could also be a realization. So emotions are just so high. It's crazy and it's so intense, the energy. And I don't want to say intense like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. This is intense in the sense that you can feel it, you can smell, you like all of your sensations are going up. Like talking to you guys right now, my heart is exploding, my body is tingling. I'm receiving these downloads to you guys of sharing what downloads feel like, because I know and I feel that this is authentically true throughout spirit, that they're sharing this through me to share with you guys how you can receive downloads. So that is just, it's a very intense, beautiful energy, and it's so important. Like I said, when we wake up early in early hours of the morning, when we're receiving those downloads, when we are crying after a meditation, after a full moon ritual, whatever it is, those are the moments that we need to stick with the most. The next one is something that not everyone has experienced. And again, like I said, I really share a lot of ways that you can receive downloads, because if you don't get one, that doesn't mean you're not receiving them. You need to find the way with practice as you go throughout your spiritual journey, the way that you are supposed to receive downloads. So the next one is an outer body experience during meditation in this time, or just information that is outside of your human body. And this was something that happened a little bit later on and has happened a lot through other experiences in my life where I'm going through an experience and it's happening slow-mo, and then this memory comes through or this download comes through. And I find a lot of people who have psychic abilities tend to commonly have this, but a whole bunch of people experience this. So outer body experience, it's almost like you are just not there in your physical body. And there's different ways. People experience it where they're like going and traveling into a different space, like astral projection, and they're feeling this download of them in a moment. It's almost like you're imagining yourself having this outer body experience that makes you feel like you're having an outer body experience. I hope I didn't lose you guys there. So just think of it this way. If you're dreaming of yourself sleeping and dreaming, that's the feeling. I've had moments where I'm sitting there and I'm closing my eyes and I'm meditating, and I can see myself in a different lifetime meditating as a healer. Crazy. I sometimes have moments where I'm there and I'm meditating and I can see myself in the future. I can see myself, like the universe teaching me where this lesson, this question that I asked, where it's bringing me, where my shadow work of the story is bringing me, or where this trauma or this experience caused me pain from my past life, from my soul life, from my DNA, from my ancestral line. So downloads, when receiving downloads, they can be great information of knowing a little bit more of our soul essence, our being, and why we're here. And I love downloads because they can give us clarity of where we are in our spiritual journey. They can help us with decisions, give us warnings, and even allow us to feel this presence as we, sometimes doubt ourselves throughout our spiritual journey of what is real and what is not. And that's usually where I say that this emotional, intense feeling that you just feel out of nowhere is usually a great starting symbolization that you are getting a download and receiving it. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video on how you know you're receiving a download from your higher self, how you know you're receiving a download just from your shadow self, your being, wherever you are in the state of this consciousness. And I hope that it allows you to really take into account those messages, whether it's early hours of the morning, in the daytime, or whenever. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, like and subscribe, as well as put notification bells, and let me know down in the comments below what video you would like me to do next and what resonated for you. Tell me your experiences. What have you noticed that has been a download after watching this video? I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.